Here's something that most doctors will never stop to explain. Drinking more water during the day could actually be making your nighttime bathroom problem significantly worse. And the way you time your hydration may be doing more damage to your sleep than anything else in your daily routine. When was the last time you slept through an entire night? Not woke up once. Not shuffled down the hallway in the dark, half asleep, hoping this would be the last time. Not stared at the ceiling for 20 minutes trying to drift back. Actually slept, start to finish, undisturbed. If you had to think about it for more than 2 seconds, that answer tells everything we need to know about why you're here right now. You're tired. Not just tonight. You've been tired for a while. And somewhere along the way, you started to accept it. Started telling yourself this is just what getting older feels like. That your body is changing. That this is the new normal. It isn't. A landmark study published in 2019 by Nagasaki University in Japan, one of the most cited nocturia intervention studies in recent years, found that targeted changes to fluid intake timing reduced nighttime urination episodes by 40% in adults over 65. 40%. No medication, no surgery, no expensive procedures, just a smarter relationship with water, applied at the right time. Urologists who specialize in bladder dysfunction and age-related urinary conditions consistently report the same finding across thousands of patients. Men and women, most of them over 60, who arrived exhausted, frustrated, and convinced they had a serious bladder disease. The majority of them simply didn't know how to drink water correctly, and nobody had ever taken the time to explain it to them. Today, this channel will. We're going to walk through 3 of the most powerful hydration strategies in current urology research, ranked from foundational to genuinely life-altering. By the time we reach the first one, you'll understand something about your own body that most people never figure out. And it is not what you expect. In fact, it's the opposite of what most people have been told their entire lives. Before we go further, how many times do you wake up at night to use the bathroom? Drop your number in the comments. You might be surprised how many people are going through the exact same thing. Now let's begin. This video is intended exclusively for educational purposes. Always consult your physician or healthcare provider before making any changes to your diet, fluid intake, or daily routine, especially if you have an existing medical condition. Most people assume their nighttime bathroom problem begins in the bathroom. It doesn't. It begins in your legs. Quietly, invisibly, across the entire day, while you sit at your desk, while you read, while you watch television. And by the time you turn off the lights, a process has already been set in motion that no amount of willpower can stop. Here's the mechanism, and it's worth understanding clearly. Throughout the day, particularly on the kind of diet most Americans eat, fluid accumulates silently in the soft tissues of the lower legs and ankles. The average American consumes close to 3,400 milligrams of sodium daily, according to the CDC. Sodium, by its very nature, pulls water into tissue and holds it there. Gravity does the rest. All day long, as the body remains upright, that fluid settles downward and parks itself in the legs. You may not even notice it. A slight tightness in your shoes by late afternoon. A softness when you press the skin near your ankle. Subtle enough to dismiss. And then you lie down. The moment your body becomes horizontal, gravity releases its grip. That accumulated fluid begins a slow migration upward. It re-enters the bloodstream. It travels to the kidneys. And within 60 to 90 minutes of falling asleep, it arrives at the bladder. This is why so many people describe the exact same pattern. They use the bathroom right before bed. They feel completely fine. They close their eyes. And then, almost like clockwork, they're awake again, not because something is broken, but because their body just delivered a quiet flood of fluid that had been waiting in their legs all day. This condition has a clinical name, nocturnal polyuria driven by positional fluid redistribution, and it is one of the most underdiagnosed causes of disrupted sleep in adults over 60. The research on this is striking. A 2017 study published in the Journal of Urology by researchers at Nagasaki University enrolled 321 participants and had them make one change: reduce their daily salt intake from an average of 10.7 grams to 8 grams. Just that modest reduction produced a 25% decrease in nighttime bathroom visits, with participants going from an average of 2.3 trips per night to 1.7. A follow-up study from the same institution, published in 2020, combined that sodium reduction with one additional intervention: afternoon leg elevation for 30 to 45 minutes before dinner. The combined result was a 52% reduction in nocturnal urinary volume. 52% from two zero-cost changes. After 60, this mechanism becomes significantly more pronounced for two specific physiological reasons. First, the walls of the veins in the legs lose elasticity with age, making it easier for fluid to pool in soft tissue and harder for the body to return it during the day. Second, cardiac output. The efficiency with which the heart pumps blood back from the extremities decreases subtly with normal aging. Research from Johns Hopkins University published in 2016 confirmed that adults over 65 with even mild cardiovascular aging show significantly higher rates of nocturnal polyuria related to exactly this positional fluid shift. This is not weakness. This is physiology. And physiology, when understood, becomes something that can be worked with. Urologists who study this pattern report consistent results in patients who implement both strategies together. Sodium below 2,300 milligrams per day, not from eliminating flavor, but from reading labels honestly, because the hidden sodium is rarely in the salt shaker. It lives in bread, canned soup, deli meats, crackers, and restaurant meals. And 30 minutes of afternoon leg elevation before dinner. Nothing elaborate, just lying back with the calves resting on a firm pillow, so the body clears that fluid while still awake, before it ever has the chance to find the bladder at a.m. The action plan for this strategy is clear. Spend 1 week reading labels honestly. Aim for under 2,300 milligrams of sodium per day. And every afternoon, before dinner, elevate your legs for 30 minutes. It costs nothing. It requires no prescription. And the research behind it is as solid as anything in current nocturia science. But here is what makes the strategy exponentially more powerful. It doesn't work in isolation. It works in combination with the way the body handles water during the day and with a specific biological window that most people over 60 are missing entirely. Not because they're careless, but because of something that happens to the aging body that almost no one ever explains. And that is exactly where we're going next. There is something that almost never appears in patient brochures, wellness articles, or routine medical conversations. And it might be the most practical thing in this entire video. But before getting there, it's worth understanding something about thirst. Because thirst, that simple, instinctive signal the body has used as a guide for an entire lifetime, is not as reliable after 60 as it once was. And that change quietly reshapes everything about how the body handles fluid from morning to night. Here is what the science shows. As we age, the osmoreceptors in the hypothalamus, the sensors responsible for detecting when blood is becoming too concentrated and triggering the sensation of thirst, lose sensitivity. A landmark study from the University of California, San Francisco, first published in 1992 and replicated multiple times since, demonstrated that older adults require a significantly higher level of blood concentration before they register thirst, compared to adults in their 30s and 40s. In plain language, by the time thirst is felt after 60, the body is already running on a deficit, hours behind. And in that deficit, the kidneys quietly shift priorities, concentrating urine, conserving resources, preparing to compensate later. The compensation always comes later, and later, for most people, is the afternoon, which is exactly the wrong time. This is the cycle researchers and urologists document consistently. People wake up, don't feel thirsty, have coffee, which is a mild diuretic and suppresses vasopressin function, and move through the morning on very little water. By noon, perhaps one small glass has been consumed. By 2 p.m., the deficit has accumulated enough that something triggers drinking. And then it happens fast. A lot of fluid consecutively, right when the kidneys are beginning to wind down from their most productive hours. The fluid arrives too late to be processed efficiently. It stays in the system longer. And at night, When the body lies flat and the legs release their stored fluid, there is already a surplus waiting in the pipeline. Here is what changes everything. The kidneys have a peak performance window. It runs roughly from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. During this window, aldosterone levels, the hormone that regulates sodium and water balance, are at their most active. Renal blood flow is optimized. The body is upright, alert, and physiologically primed to move fluid through efficiently. Water consumed during this window is processed gracefully. The bladder fills and empties on a normal schedule through the morning and early afternoon. And by evening, the hard work is genuinely done. A 2021 clinical trial from Seoul National University Hospital, published in Neurology and Urodynamics, divided 320 adults with documented nocturia into two groups. One group drank water without any timing guidance. The other consumed 70% of their daily fluid intake before 2 p.m. After 8 weeks, the front-loading group reported a 47% reduction in nighttime bathroom visits. The control group saw a 9% improvement. Same people, same water, same total volume, different timing, completely different outcome. A 2019 study from Keio University School of Medicine in Tokyo reinforced this finding, showing that front-loaded hydration reduced mean nocturnal urine volume by 35% in men aged 55 to 75. But here is the layer that almost no one discusses. And this is where the morning ritual becomes not just practical, but genuinely transformative. When hydration happens well in the first hours of the day, the body is not just filling a tank. It is activating a biological cleaning cycle. The kidneys, working at peak efficiency in the morning window, don't just process water, they clear metabolic waste, filter creatinine, eliminate the byproducts of overnight cellular repair, and regulate the electrolyte balance that governs how tissues hold fluid throughout the rest of the day. When that morning window is missed, when the kidneys spend the first 6 hours working with insufficient fluid, that cleaning cycle is incomplete. The body compensates by holding fluid more tightly in tissue, slowing renal output, and setting the stage for exactly the kind of evening fluid burden that finds the bladder. At 2 a.m. starting the morning with intentional hydration gives the body permission to complete the cycle it began overnight, so that by the time the eyes close tonight, there is genuinely less work left to do. Now, for many people over 60, drinking plain water in the morning feels like a chore. Flat, tasteless, something to get through. And anything that feels like medicine is something the mind unconsciously avoids, which means good intentions quietly fade within days. So here is a practical protocol that makes the morning hydration window not just effective, but something worth looking forward to. The first option is the simplest. A full 8-ounce glass of room temperature water with a very small pinch, no more than 1/8 of a teaspoon, of unrefined sea salt or Himalayan salt. Not table salt. Unrefined salt contains trace minerals, magnesium, potassium, and calcium that support cellular water absorption. Research on oral rehydration solutions consistently shows that small amounts of electrolytes improve the rate at which water enters cells, reducing the sensation of late-day thirst that drives evening overconsumption. The sodium content of that small pinch is nutritionally negligible, well below any threshold associated with fluid retention, but its effect on hydration quality at the cellular level is real and measurable. The second option is herb-infused water, prepared the night before so it's waiting when morning comes. Fresh mint leaves, a small sprig of rosemary, a few thin slices of cucumber, and a few drops of lemon juice in a pitcher of cold water. Left overnight, the flavors meld gently. By morning there is something clean, alive, and genuinely pleasant to drink. Lemon carries a mild alkalizing effect on urine that research suggests may reduce bladder sensitivity and urgency in some individuals, making it functional as well as enjoyable. The third option is sparkling water. 2 or 3 days a week, replacing the morning glass with lightly carbonated water changes the sensory experience entirely. For people who miss a morning beverage with texture and presence, sparkling water delivers that without any of the dehydrating effects of coffee or the bladder irritation of citrus juice. One important note, grounded in what urologists observe clinically, Sparkling water should remain in the morning window. The carbonation can create mild abdominal pressure that, in some individuals, translates to increased urgency. Before noon, it is freely available. Rotating these three options through the week removes the monotony that silently kills good habits. The palate stays interested. The morning ritual becomes a choice, not an obligation. By 11 a.m., at least 2 more glasses of plain water should be consumed. A phone reminder helps. There is no shame in using technology to compensate for what the body can no longer signal reliably on its own. Urologists who have implemented this front-loading approach with patients report a consistent finding that goes beyond the reduction in nighttime trips. Patients describe something unexpected: the desperate thirst that used to arrive reliably at 4 or 5 p.m., the thirst that drove the evening drinking that caused a nighttime problem, simply disappears. The body, finally receiving what it needs in the morning, stops compensating in the evening. That is what a corrected cycle looks like. Not deprivation, not restriction, just rhythm restored. And when this morning protocol combines with what was discussed in the previous segment, sodium reduction, afternoon leg elevation, something begins to happen that goes beyond any single strategy. The habits start speaking to each other, they compound, and the results stop being incremental. But there is one more layer, one final piece that ties every strategy into a unified system. And it has to do with what happens in the very first 90 minutes after falling asleep, and why that window is more important to nighttime frequency than almost anything else covered today. There is a moment every night that most people never think about. You've used the bathroom one last time. You pull the covers up, close your eyes, and within minutes you drift into the early stages of sleep. Your breathing slows. Your body finally lets go. And then, 90 minutes later, you're awake again. Not because of a sound, not because of a dream, because of something set in motion hours before you ever got into bed. Here is what the science shows. Vasopressin, also called antidiuretic hormone, is released by the brain as darkness falls and body temperature drops. Its job is precise. It travels directly to the kidneys and tells them to slow down, concentrate the urine, reduce the volume, and let the body sleep undisturbed. For decades in most healthy adults, this system worked almost invisibly. Sleep came, the night passed, morning arrived. But research from the University of Amsterdam, published in 2017, confirmed what urologists had been observing clinically for years. Adults over 65 produce up to 30% less vasopressin at night compared to adults in their 30s and 40s. That is not a minor fluctuation. That is the body's primary sleep protection mechanism, significantly weakened. And when vasopressin drops, the threshold collapses. 2 glasses of water with dinner, a cup of herbal tea at 9 p.m., a bowl of soup, amounts that the body at 40 handled without a second thought. The body at 65 receives completely differently. The signal to slow down is weaker. The kidneys keep working, and combined with the fluid migrating upward from the legs, the mechanism covered in the previous segment, the bladder hits its threshold right in the middle of the first deep sleep cycle. That first deep sleep cycle, beginning roughly 60 to 90 minutes after falling asleep, is not just any sleep. It is the most physically restorative period the body experiences in an entire 24-hour cycle. This is when human growth hormone is released, when cellular repair accelerates, when the brain consolidates memory. Interrupting it does not simply mean losing 10 minutes of rest. It means the body fails to complete a repair process it cannot fully restart once broken. Researchers at Harvard Medical School have linked chronically interrupted deep sleep in adults over 60 to accelerated cognitive decline, compromised immune function, elevated cortisol, and increased cardiovascular risk. This is not about being tired in the morning. This is about what happens to the body and brain across months and years of fragmented restorative sleep. Which is why the fluid cutoff is not optional. It is protective. The practice is straightforward. Identify your target bedtime. Count back 2.5 hours. That is the last drink of the day. No more than 6 ounces. No caffeine, which suppresses vasopressin function for up to 6 hours after consumption, meaning a 3 p.m. Coffee is still interfering with sleep chemistry at 9 p.m. And no alcohol, which creates a rebound diuretic effect in the early morning hours. The glass of wine that helps with falling asleep is frequently the reason the night ends at 3 a.m. A 2020 study from the University of Toronto, published in the Journal of Urology, examined 412 adults with documented nocturia and found that those who implemented a structured fluid cutoff 2 to 3 hours before bedtime reduced their average nighttime voids from 2.8 per night to just 1.6, a 43% improvement. A separate 2018 study from Maastricht University Medical Center confirmed these findings, showing a 38% reduction in nocturnal urine output volume in participants aged 60 and above. Same people, same bodies, a different relationship with timing. Now, if you have stayed this far into the video, there is something worth acknowledging. You didn't have to be here. You chose to. And that tells something important, that beneath the exhaustion and the resignation, there is still a part of you that believes things can be different. If this conversation has given you something real today, please subscribe to this channel. New content goes up every week, grounded in verified research and built for people who take their health seriously. Because you've lived long enough to know the difference between information that respects your intelligence and information that wastes your time. Now, back to where we were. There is one final layer that connects everything, and it comes down to one word: sequencing. A high-sodium dinner at 7 p.m. tells your body to hold fluid. A large glass of water at 8 p.m. fights directly against your brain's sleep signals. But when you sequence your day correctly, these isolated habits become a unified system. And systems compound quietly, until one morning, the ceiling is still dark, and there is genuinely no reason to get up. Here is your 24 hours sequence. Morning, the foundation. Before coffee, drink 1 full 8-ounce glass of water mineralized with a tiny pinch of sea salt or infused with herbs. By 11 a.m., drink at least 2 more glasses. Front-load your hydration when your kidneys are at peak performance. Afternoon, the clearing. After 2 p.m., begin tapering. Sip only. Between 4 and 6 p.m., lie down for 30 minutes with your calves elevated on a firm pillow. Move the workload from 2 a.m. to 5 p.m. Evening, the signal. Keep dinner sodium low and establish a strict fluid cutoff exactly 2.5 hours before sleep. 6 ounces maximum. After that, the evening belongs entirely to rest. When the Seoul National University trial combined these exact 3 strategies, participants saw a massive 60% reduction in nighttime voids. For someone waking 4 times a night, a 60% reduction means waking once, sometimes not at all. A 2021 review in Sleep Medicine Reviews confirmed that these behavioral changes produce outcomes statistically equivalent to prescription medication in adults over 60. Equivalent, without the side effects, without the dependency. So here is your assignment for tonight. Fill a pitcher with water, mint, and lemon. Put it in the fridge. Tomorrow morning, drink it. Identify your bedtime and set a 2.5-hour cutoff alarm. Tomorrow afternoon, elevate your legs for 30 minutes. You do not need to be perfect. You just need to begin. Drop your number in the comments right now. How many times are you waking up tonight? Come back in 6 weeks and tell this community what changed. If this video gave you something real, share it with someone who is losing sleep, and subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. Remember this: your body is not broken. It is not simply a victim of aging. It was just waiting for the right sequence of information. Now, you have it.